So let us begin today. We look at Act 4, Scene 1 of Macbeth, and here we have again the witches, the cauldron scene, and we have the spirits or the three apparitions. The three apparitions appearing in the cauldron scene, which we have discussed in the earlier class. The last apparition was a show of 8 kings. The last show was that of 8 kings, and the last with a glass in his hand, Banquo following. So Banquo appears as one of the very last kings. One thing I need to tell you about the significance of this is that this scene, as you know, that Macbeth was enacted before King James I, and Banquo was his predecessor, and therefore this scene actually flatters the king by showing the relationship between the king and Banquo, who is presented in the play as a rightful heir to the throne of Scotland and as a good and judicious king, as opposed to Macbeth. Now we know that for the sake of drama, Shakespeare contrasted the goodness of Banquo with the evil nature of Macbeth, which was not warranted by the sources. So actually in Holinshed, Banquo also conspires with Macbeth regarding the murder of Duncan. But Shakespeare changes that plot and here makes Macbeth solely responsible for this act, so that Banquo appears to be a good person, not involved in any conspiracy or anything. So it was necessary for Shakespeare to flatter the king, as during the Renaissance the theatre companies depended upon the patronage of the king and the nobles, and thus we admit, or we have to accept, the dramatist in a clever way flatters the king. Now, Lennox appears and Macbeth asks him, "Saw you the weird sisters?" The weird sisters vanished, but of course Lennox did not see them. They are visible only to Macbeth. "Came they not by you?" "No, indeed, my lord." "Infected with the air whereon they ride, and damned all those that trust them." Who trusts them? It is Macbeth. So we see how Macbeth is fully aware that he should not trust the witches, but even then he cannot but trust them. So what does that indicate of Macbeth's character? That he is intelligent, he knows what he is doing is wrong, but he cannot stop himself he gets carried away. And why does he get carried away? Because of the inner greed, the temptation. This greed makes him go to the witches and ask them and hear what he wants to hear. So, if some critic say that the witches are a projection of Macbeth's mind or a projection of Macbeth's temptations, that also cannot be completely false. It is a kind of viable interpretation, because the witches are visible only to Macbeth and not to any other character, just like Banquo's ghost is visible only to him and not to anybody else. And thus Shakespeare very cleverly provides the superstitious audience with an opportunity to watch what they believe in, to watch miracles or to watch supernatural things. At the same time, for the learned and the more scientific minded people, Shakespeare keeps open the opportunities of medical interpretation or psychological interpretation and so on. Then from Lennox, Macbeth comes to know that Macduff fled to England, and in an aside he says, "Time thou anticipatest my dread exploits. The flighty purpose never is overtook unless the deed go with it." By which he means that whatever he is planning, whatever he is thinking, that has to be acted out quickly, because time anticipates it, as if these acts are inevitable. So he was thinking that Macduff may be a traitor, he may not be loyal to him, and Macduff escapes. So he regrets that he thinks first and acts later. He wants to act first and think later. So unless the deed go with it, unless the work is done, unless the act is committed, the high purpose, flighty purpose is of no use. From this moment, the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand. Firstling, that is, things which hatch first or which are born first. And Macbeth makes a distinction between his head and his heart. So, or his heart and his hand. So, whatever he desires to do, the hand should commit that as early as possible. And even now, to crown my thoughts with acts, be it thought and done. So, crown my thoughts with acts. So, mere thought is not enough. It must be crowned with act. So, act is of supreme importance, and here he is thinking of murdering Macduff or his family. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon fief, give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. So I will not keep anybody in his line alive. So I will exterminate the race of Macduff or the entire family of Macduff, and I will kill him, I will kill his wife and his children. So we see how hardened Macbeth has become, because killing wife or children, killing families who are civilians is a most dishonorable act. Even in the Middle Ages, any kind of war or battle was fought with certain principles guided by honor, and killing unarmed civilians is by all means a dishonorable act. But Macbeth doesn't mind, which means that he has let his scruples go. He has transcended the ethical barrier. He has crossed over to the other side. No boasting like a fool, this deed I will do before this purpose cool. But no more sights. Where are these gentlemen? Come bring me where they are. And then we see Lady Macduff with her son and Ross. Now Macduff has suddenly escaped even without telling his wife anything. The reason is very clear. If his wife knows where he is gone, then she would be an accomplice. If she is innocent, then she can't be called an accomplice. So Macduff does not tell his family anything so that they are considered as innocent. But that did not work for Macbeth, because Macbeth does not have any ethical scruples. So here Ross tries to explain to Lady Macbeth why Macduff did so, and we have a witty dialogue between the son of Lady Macduff and Lady Macduff, between mother and son, which is pathetic, because a little later they would be murdered, but none of them know that. So they enter into a witty parley or dialogue. What had he done to make him fly the land? You must have patience, madam. He had none, that is, Macduff did not have any patience. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors. That is, she wants to say that by fleeing, by escaping, Macduff has proved himself afraid of Macbeth and consequently a traitor in the eyes of Macbeth. You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear. Ross says that he did not live out of fear but out of wisdom. Wisdom to leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion and his turtles in a place from whence himself does fly. He loves us not, he wants the natural touch. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her young ones in her nest against the owl. So even a bird defends its chicks against a predator, but Macduff left his son and his wife. All is the fear and nothing is the love, as little is the wisdom, but the flight so runs against all reason. So, from Lady Macduff's perspective, she does not see any reason, and she says that Macduff does not love me or love his child, and he left us suddenly. My dearest cause, I pray you, school yourself. Cause, cousin. School yourself, that is, discipline yourself, hold yourself together. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best known the feats of the season. I dare not speak much farther. Ross of course knows the political reason for which Macduff has fled, but he cannot divulge it to Lady Macduff. When we hold rumour from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea each way and move. So this situation, imaginary situation that Ross presents, that somebody floating in a violent sea in this direction and then again in the other, it is like being in complete uncertainty and fear. Nobody knows from which side danger comes. So that is the situation here in Scotland, and because of that Macduff had to escape. I take my leave of you, shall not be long, but I will be here again. So on. Now we have the dialogue between mother and son. Sirrah, your father is dead, and what will you do now? How will you live? Lady Macduff uh, tries to put his son into a trial by saying that if your father is dead, what will you do? As birds do, mother. What with worms and flies? With what I get, I mean, and so do they. So birds often become orphans, but even then they survive by getting whatever they get by eating it. Poor bird, thou wouldst never fear the net, nor lime, the pitfall, nor the gin. So these are the ways that a bird is trapped: lime, gin, or net. But Lady Macduff says that you will not have to face these dangers. Why should I, mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead, for all your saying. So he says that I don't believe what you are saying. My father is not dead. Yes, he is dead. How will thou do for a father? Nay, how will you do for a husband? So he gives a witty answer. So this is called a repartee, a witty repartee. Are you all able to hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, so he says that you tell me I have no father. How will I do without a father? Then I will ask you, how will you do without a husband? Thou speakest with all thy wit. Uh, Lady Macduff says, why I can buy me 20 at any market, then we will buy them to sell again. So, because people buy for selling the goods once again to make a profit in the market. So, if you are looking upon your husband as a commodity to be bought from the market, then you will buy them and you will again sell them. And thou speakest with all thy wit, and yet in faith with wit enough for thee. That is, you are too witty for your age. Was my father a traitor, mother? Now you see that this is a domestic scene and a scene of a dialogue between mother and son. Uh, it is almost like it is distanced from the immediate circumstances, but even within this harmless dialogue comes the theme of treachery, and the boy uh, jokingly asks, was my father a traitor? And Lady Macduff, continuing with the joke, says, I that he was. What is a traitor? Why, one that swears and lies. And be all traitors that do so? Everyone that does so is a traitor and must be hanged. So here we have a very uh, diluted definition of a traitor. Anybody who is swearing, promising something and then lying. So Lady Macduff has in her mind that Macduff promised her love, but he lied about it because he left her. So everyone must be hanged. Who must hang them? Why, the honest men. Then the liars and swearers are fools, for there are liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang up them. So the son says that the number of honest men is always less than the number of liars and swearers. So if they gather together and beat up the honest men, they can hang them. Then the liars and swearers, now God help thee, poor monkey, but how wilt thou do for a father? If he were dead, you would weep for him. If you would not, it was a good sign that I should quickly have a new father. So the son says that if my father is really dead, then you will weep. And if he is dead and you are not weeping, that means that you will marry somebody else. So I will have a new father. Then a messenger comes and warns them that they should immediately leave the house because there is a lot of danger. But Lady Macduff refuses to leave. Whither should I fly? I have done no harm, but I remember now I am in this earthly world where to do harm is often laudable. So earthly world as opposed to heavenly world. In heavenly world everything is perfect. In earthly world things are often reverse. If you do something commendable, you are punished. If you do something harmful, you are rewarded. So Lady Macduff says that how can I even ask for forgiveness by saying that I have done no harm, because this is not a just world. To do good sometimes accounted dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm? Then the murderers come. Where is your husband? I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayest find him. That is, I hope that he is not in a place where you can easily catch him. He is a traitor. And the son says, thou liest, thou shag-haired villain. What, you egg? So, because the child is not a fully developed man, so the murderer calls him an egg and stabs him, young fry of treachery. But the son is so noble that before dying he tells his mother, he has killed me, mother, run away, I pray you. So Lady Macduff runs away, crying murder, and the murderers pursue her, which makes it clear that she would also be murdered very quickly. Now Macduff has come to meet Malcolm in England, the eldest son of Duncan. He has come to England to King Edward, and there Macduff comes and meets him, and he has come to invite Malcolm to give leadership and lead an army against Macbeth. But we will see that Malcolm does not easily give Macduff any word. On the contrary, he tries to present himself as an unworthy man and so on. So this scene, it is rather long, is called the testing of Macduff. Malcolm tests Macduff because he wants to be sure that Macduff has not been sent by Macbeth. He has to be very cautious. So he is at first suspicious why Macduff has come alone without his family and so on and so forth. So Macduff has to prove his loyalty first, and after Malcolm speaks against himself as being unworthy to rule, then when Macduff is totally frustrated and disappointed, then Malcolm tells him that no, I was testing you, so you must not be disheartened. Any questions so far?
Yes, sir.
In the middle of this conversation, Macduff will receive the news of the murder of his family. But before that, we look at the dialogue. Malcolm, let us seek out some desolate shade and there weep our sad bosom empty. Why weep? Because Scotland is in the hands of a tyrant. But is this the appropriate attitude of a king or a future king who wants to deliver his country from the hands of oppression, of anarchy? So weeping is not something that is expected from a leader. But Malcolm deliberately takes this stance. Macduff opposes him by saying, let us rather hold fast the mortal sword and like good men bestride our downfall dumb. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolor. So in Scotland every day some people are being killed, new widows and new orphans are being created. So Scotland is going through a lot of dolor or pain. What I believe I will wail, what no believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend I will. Malcolm also speaks in riddles. He does not commit anything. So basically he means to say that I cannot redress anything, so I will wail. What you have spoke, it may be so perchance this tyrant whose sole name blisters our tongues was once thought honest. You have loved him well, he has not touched you yet. So Malcolm says that who is an honest man and who is a tyrant, these definitions are also not very clear, because once Macbeth was thought to be an honest man and then you loved him very much and now you are safe. Macbeth has not done anything to you or your family. So he insinuates that Macduff could be a spy sent by Macbeth. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. So have you come to sacrifice me before Macbeth? So I am the offering, a weak person, and Macbeth is the angry God. So to appease him, you have come to plot against me and deliver me to Macbeth. Macduff simply says, I am not treacherous, but Macbeth is. So you see, the theme of treachery runs throughout the play. It began with the Thane of Cawdor and now it continues. So Macbeth is a traitor. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge. One who is originally good, when he becomes an emperor or king, then his virtue may go away. But I shall crave your pardon, that which you are my thoughts cannot transpose. That is, I cannot clearly understand what you are. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. The brightest was Lucifer. He fell and became Satan. But even then, we cannot blame all angels. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so. So, those who are evil, they may pretend to be good, but the good will remain good. So, the intent of this speech is that it is very difficult to distinguish between what is true good and what is false good. I have lost my hopes. So, hearing these speeches from Malcolm, Macduff says, I am totally frustrated. I came with a lot of hope, but I have lost it. Perchance even there, where I did find my doubts, why in that rawness left you wife and child, those precious motives, those strong knots of love, without leave taking? So he says that the reason of my doubt about you is that you have left without telling your family or your child where you are going. So why did you do that? Is it a mission of a spy because of which you suppressed it even from your family? I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonours, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think. So he kind of apologizes that I am jealous, means I am eager to save myself. I am thinking of my safety, but I of course do not want to dishonor you. But I do not know you. That is why I must be cautious. And in a mode of exasperation, Macduff says, bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy basis sure. For goodness dare not check thee. So Macbeth is the great tyranny and Malcolm goodness, he does not dare to check him. Wear thou thy wrongs. The title is afeard. So the title afeard means confirmed, assured. So Macbeth will remain the king, your title is confirmed. Fare thee well, Lord, I would not be the villain that thou thinkest, for the whole space that is in the tyrant's grasp, and the reach east to boot. So even if Macbeth offers me the whole kingdom of Scotland, and in addition to that, the east, so the east in the Renaissance mind, it referred to the colonies of the east or Asian colonies which were proverbially rich. So even if Macbeth adds that, I will not become a traitor. Malcolm, be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke, it weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right. That is, if I go to Scotland, lot of people will support me. And here, from gracious England, have I offer of goodly thousands. So the English king has offered me thousands of soldiers. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before. So even when I kill Macbeth and I become the new king, the country will continue to suffer. Why? Because I have more vices than Macbeth. So he is continuing to test Macduff. More sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed. What should he be? That is, Macduff says that who will wear the crown after the fall of Macbeth will continue to oppress, and Macduff asks, what should he be? Who is that man? It is myself I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted, that when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow. So I am full of so many vices that to me Macbeth will appear to be like Snow White. And the poor state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms. Confined means boundary, boundless harms. So compared to Macbeth, I will appear to be a much greater, vicious, harmful person. Not in the legions of horrid hell, can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth? Macduff says that nobody can be more evil than Macbeth. I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. So I accept, I admit that Macbeth has all the vices. Luxury means lust, avarice, greed, and so on. But there is no bottom, none in my voluptuousness. I am much more greedy and lustful. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my love, and my desire all continent impediments would overbear that did oppose my will. So if I become the king, then no woman in Scotland will be safe from my lust. Better Macbeth than such an one to reign. Now Macduff still thinks that maybe Malcolm is young, so he is lustful. Sometimes kings are allowed to be lustful and to have more than one wife or to have concubines, even though it is not virtuous. Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. Intemperance, that is lack of control. It has been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. Because of boundless lust, many kings have fallen. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. That is, you can still become the king of Scotland. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink. So, you may have plenty of lustful experiences, yet that may not satisfy you. We have willing dames enough. We have many girls who would be willing to have time with the king. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined. So many girls would be ready to come to you. You won't be able or you won't desire to have all of them. Malcolm, with this there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice. So lust is not the only thing. I am also extremely greedy. That were I king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands. I will usurp all the lands of the nobles. Desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more. So I will desire the wealth of all the nobles. That I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. So I will end up destroying the good and loyal nobles. Macduff, this avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer seeming lust. Lust is something often seasonal, particularly in animals, though not in men, unfortunately, but in animals. So Macduff says that lust is not so harmful because it is seasonal, summer seeming, but avarice is something that strikes its root much deeper, and it has been the sword of our slain kings. Many kings died because of their greed. You do not fear. Scotland has foison to fill up your will. Scotland has plenty of wealth of your mere own. The king's lands or the king's wealth, they are vast. All these are portable with other graces weight. Portable, that is, they can be accepted. If you have the other graces of a king. Malcolm says, but I have none. I have no grace of a king. Now here we also see an examination of the idea of kingship. What are the qualities required in a king? And it is something frequent in Shakespeare's plays. In King Lear also we see an examination of kingship in Measure for Measure. So here Malcolm enumerates the qualities that a king should have. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness. Lowliness means humility, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them. So I don't have any of these qualities of a king. But abound in the division of each several crime, acting it many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth. So, concord is not something that is found in hell. So, concord means agreement, harmony. So, it is expressed as sweet milk of concord. So, if I am in power, then I will do just the opposite of what should be done. I will throw harmony into hell and turn all other places into chaos. Uproar the universal peace, confound all unity. So I will disturb all unity and destroy all peace in the world. Now Macduff is totally devastated. Oh Scotland, Scotland. Malcolm, if such a one be fit to govern, speak as I am as I have spoken. Fit to govern? No, not to live. So if you are really such a person, let alone be the king, you should not live. O nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Wholesome, healthy, natural. Since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accused, that is the genuine heir to the throne, he accuses himself and does blaspheme his breed and speaks against his own blood. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee oftener upon her knees than on her feet died every day she lived. That is, if you were such a monster, then the queen who raised you up must have died every day for this act. Fare thee well, these evils thou repeatest upon thyself hath banished me from Scotland. I have left Scotland because of these evils that you mention. O my breast, thy hope ends here. So he is now completely frustrated and hopeless. Now Malcolm tells him that he had been testing him. Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, has from my soul wiped the black scruples. Scruples means doubts. Reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. Now I accept you as true, honorable and good. Devilish Macbeth by many of these trains hath sought to win me. That is, earlier Macbeth sent many spies and tried to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over-credulous haste. So I would rather be a little cautious than hastily yield and be arrested by Macbeth's power. But God above, deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction and unspeak mine own detraction. So the what I said about me, all the wrong things that I said, I detract them. I take back those words. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature. these are not my nature, these are strangers to my nature. I am yet unknown to woman. I am a virgin. So the whole story of last, that is all false. Never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, at no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than lie. So I am a truth loving person. I never betrayed anybody, I never harmed anybody. My first false speaking was this upon myself. So this is the first time that I spoke falsely. What I am truly is thine, and my poor country is to command. Whither indeed before thy here approach, old Seward with 10,000 warlike men already at a point was setting forth. Seward was one of the English nobles who was very warlike, a military hero, and he has already set out with 10,000 soldiers for this advance against Macbeth. At a point means armed. Now we will together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. So we will join our forces and we will advance upon Macbeth. Why are you silent? Such welcome and unwelcome things at once is hard to reconcile. So by hearing all this, of course Macduff is overjoyed that Malcolm appears to be a true hero of Scotland and will be the future king, but he finds it very difficult to digest such contrary words altogether. All right. Any question? So, what do you think about this particular scene, scene 3, which is a dialogue between Malcolm and Macduff? The murder of Lady Macduff and her son, that is of course mostly action, which is an advancement of the plot. Whereas in this scene, we see a long dialogue, but with a political intent. Macduff wants to win over Malcolm to his side to fight Macbeth. So what are your comments? Any comment? Would you like to say anything about this scene? You liked this scene, or you did not like it, or you think it is extraneous? What do you think? What does this indicate? Why does Shakespeare include a scene where Malcolm is behaving in this cautious manner and so on? What does it indicate? Well, you think over it and let me know later. So here next we see a doctor comes and he talks about the king, and here the King of England, Edward, he is represented as having a miraculous power to heal people, sick people, by touching them. And this is called the king's evil. Uh, the king's evil. Uh, the king touches people and heals them. It is a supernatural act, and it was believed that the English kings would inherit it from their ancestors, this supernatural power. Now, this supernatural is something different from the other kinds of supernatural presented in this play. That is, all other supernaturals, the witches, the dagger scene, and all these, they are mostly evil supernatural, whereas this is one example of a good supernatural. And this has been pointed out by L.C. Knights in his essay, How Many Children Had Lady Macbeth? So Malcolm asks the doctor, "Comes the king forth, I pray you?" "Aye, sir, there are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure." That is, they wait for his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of art. That is, it is a trial of the science of medicine. But at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. So the king's touch has such a heavenly power, such a saintly power, that these people who could not be cured by any doctor, they are cured by the king's touch. Macduff, what is the disease he means? It is called the evil, a most miraculous work in this good king, which often, since my year remain in England, I have seen him do. How he solicits heaven, himself best knows. So how does he get this power from heaven? That only he knows. But strangely visited people, all sullen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, people full of ulcer or maybe leprosy, different kinds of swellings, the mere despair of surgery, he cures, hanging a golden stamp about their necks, put on with holy prayers. So he gives them a golden necklace kind of thing, golden locket, which has holy power. And it is spoken, to the succeeding royalty he leaves the healing benediction. So he will leave this power to the next person, his successor. With this strange virtue, he has the heavenly gift of prophecy. So he also has the power to make prophecies. And sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace. Now you see that the word grace is used a great number of times with reference to King Edward. As earlier we have seen that the word grace or gracious were used with reference to Duncan. So both Duncan and Edward, they are represented as saintly kings, and thus they present a great contrast to Macbeth, who is an evil king. Okay, so I will stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. Anybody has any question?
No, sir.
Alright, very good. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.